All right, we are live. We are group 2 of 2, and Laura couldn't come today. She had to take her neighbor's son to the emergency room. She came over, and so she's just going to post on the discussion board. So I'm Jessica Mendoza-Figueroa.
And I'm Nicole Hubbard.
All right, so the first question says, having completed the book, how has your understanding and perception increased on the process of international policy and law? Personally, this book was kind of intimidating. If I was Richard, I don't think I would have been able to make it that long. There was so many rude people to him. I felt like I didn't realize that you could make that big of an influence over the international policies, I guess. I figured that it was just something that happened here and not anywhere else. So it was cool to me that he was actually able to use his knowledge in the Proclamation to the Family to help other people in other international places say, what families are and mark it down on a piece of paper. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good example of just one single person being able to make such a huge impact. And I also found it really interesting that, I feel like some of the government leaders, they are really selfish and they're so worried about their beliefs and what they want rather than thinking about society as a whole.
I agree. Or sometimes they just think that they want to be favorited as, whatever they want to be. And so even though they believe one thing, they might go against that just so that they can get more people's opinions of whatever. Like right now, everyone is all for pretty much no families. And so if anyone's going to step up and go against families, people pretty much aren't going to go for them.
Mm-hmm.
You want to read the second one?
Yeah. What role did you see the Lord playing in Professor Wilkins' efforts to advocate for the families of the world? What lessons did you learn for your own efforts? I thought this was the coolest part. The Lord was such a huge part in it. He and Professor Wilkins, he just trusted in the Lord that everything was going to work out how it was supposed to. He received strength beyond his own capacity. He didn't eat for 3 days and he wasn't sleeping. I don't know, it was just so cool. And how he also was speaking to Richard's wife and how he kind of was able to work through her to speak to Richard and help him get through it. I thought it was really neat.
That's what I thought as well. And how, when they're stressed out in the beginning and all they have to do is turn to the Lord, and then everything starts to fall into place. Oftentimes we think of international things, we're like, oh, I got to do this on myself. But when he turned to the Lord and he really put his full trust in him, and that's when he was cared for and protected, and that's when everything started to fall into place.
Yep, it was cool.
All right, so number 3. Yeah, it says, even though the book was largely about Richard Wilkins' experience, what important supporting roles did you see others playing in this account? Why is it important to recognize this? I think that his wife was a huge impact on him, because whenever he was freaking out or worried about something, he would say, oh, I need to call my wife. I need to call my wife. He was his support system pretty much. And I thought that was cool because it just shows the connection. And sometimes when he didn't know what to do, he would call her. And I particularly since I just recently got done with the book, in the beginning of it, when he was saying, he called her and he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so nervous. And she said, do you still have your Proclamation to the Family? You need to read that. And it was just kind of a dawn moment where it's like, hey, maybe I should. And that's really what started it all. So I just think her impact was huge, because without her, I don't know if he would have been able to make it all.
True. I also think, I don't remember the lady's name at the beginning that was like, Richard, you need to go to this thing. Do you remember what her name was?
I don't remember
her name. But anyways, I think that she played a big part because I don't think he really would have thought about it as much without her influence, her pushing him to go.
Susan is her name.
Susan?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Susan played a big part. And I also liked how the people at I want to call it, what would you call this? I wanted to call it a conference, but...
Yeah, pretty much.
People were asking questions, even though some people were being... It kind of triggered a lot of thought, and it was good that people were asking him questions and like reaching out to him saying, please, I need a copy of this paper. Like, I just thought it was cool. He's like, oh, wow, like, I am making a difference. I thought that was kind of neat.
Right. Eventually, the hard-hearted people were softened.
Yeah. So, 4? Yeah?
Yeah.
Ponder your readings from A Sacred Duty. What are some consequences and risks of minimizing or eliminating family and religion from public policy? I don't really know about this one, but my initial thoughts were that's just letting Satan win, and that he will just be attacking the family more and more, and I think people feel somewhat obligated, like, to have a family. Not everyone, but at this point, like, I think it needs to be there. That's why we're here, is to have a family, and we should, I mean, everyone has some sort of religion, I hope, and that forces or encourages them to do certain things. I don't know. I just think that if we got rid of that, it's just letting Satan come in and take over.
I agree. It's just, I mean, we're already having so many issues that I feel like if it were to go to a public policy that families aren't like that, I don't know if children wouldn't be born as much, or if they just like wouldn't be raised right, and as older as they got, eventually people would be like, oh, well, you don't need a mom and dad anyways, so I'm just going to live with this girl over here and we're just going to be selfish and live our own little life. So I think that is a risk, too, is just eventually procreation is going to stop. And that is one of the things, that we're here to do, is to bring lives into this world. Not necessarily like right away or all the time. That's not just our only job, but it's one of our really important jobs. And so, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep, perfect.
So the last one said, based on a sacred duty, what do you think we can do about it? Does the author implicitly or explicitly, is that how you say that? Yeah.
Implicitly? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can read it. Make realistic suggestions for ordinary citizens as well as those in position of power and influence. Hit myself really fast. Okay, that's like a bazillion part question.
Yeah, it is. I think the main thing for me was something specific. Well, I guess both general. Just thinking about Richard and realizing that just one person can make a difference. And I also loved how his wife played such a big part just by praying for him. I think that we can pray for our leaders and pray for opportunities to be able to speak out.
I agree. I remember in the book reading the part where he walked out of the conference and he said that there was people sweeping the floor but didn't realize that they were mopping the floor. Didn't realize what they were mopping, but it was blood from the killing that had happened. And he still went forward with it, even though that had happened. It wasn't his fault, but it was going on during the conference time or whatever. I just think it was important because he didn't give up and he kept going. So for us, when we, want to give up or something just because we don't want to speak up, that really hit me hard because I realized that nothing like that has happened to me. I don't go outside and see people mopping up blood on the floor. So nothing should be scaring me. If he can still continue to fight for families, then I should be able to continue to fight for families now as well.
Yeah, it's true. I like it.
Well,
right.
Oh,
that wasn't bad. We did it.
Yay!
Done.
Alrighty, I will stop the broad.